My friends, I tell you tonight that success, happiness, and love are not somewhere out there, beyond your reach, waiting to be captured through endless striving. Everything you have ever desired or longed for exists now, in this very moment, within you. You have been taught, have you not, to pursue happiness, to run after love, to chase wealth. Yet in all this pursuit, you lose sight of the one fundamental principle that shapes your entire world. What you seek is seeking you, and it is your imagination, not your effort, that draws it to you. Listen carefully. Every desire is a seed planted in the garden of your imagination. It is not through struggle that this seed bears fruit, but through your ability to assume its fulfillment here and now. What would your life be like if you stopped running after your dreams and instead lived as though they were already true? What if, instead of chasing, you became the person who naturally experiences those desires? This, my friends, is the law of assumption, the secret to bringing what you desire into your life effortlessly. You do not have to toil to create a reality where your wish is fulfilled. All you need to do is close your eyes, dwell in the feeling of that wish fulfilled, and trust that it is already done. Let go of the need to chase. Chasing is seated in doubt. It tells the universe that you do not yet believe in your own power to create. Instead, rest in the quiet confidence that the moment you desire something, it is already yours. By assuming the feeling of that desire fulfilled, you send out a vibrational signal that aligns all circumstances, events, and people to bring it to pass. Look around you. What are you chasing? What are you pursuing in the outer world that could so easily be found within? Your only task is to dwell in the state of your fulfilled desire. Do not concern yourself with how it will come. That is not your work. The how belongs to the unseen forces that respond to your inner world. Your job is to remain steadfast in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and let the pieces of life arrange themselves to match it. Life is not a race. It is a divine unfolding. When you rest in the knowing that what you seek is already coming to you, you will stop running in circles. You will stand still in the silence of your being, and know that everything you desire is making its way to you now. I ask you, what if you could stop chasing happiness? What if you could let it come to you by simply assuming that you are already happy? What if, instead of chasing love, you assumed that you were already loved deeply and fully? And what if, instead of chasing after success, you lived in the end, seeing yourself already in possession of the life you long for? Stop chasing and start creating within. Let your imagination lead the way, and trust that the world outside will conform to the vision you hold within. This is the secret. This is the law. You need not struggle for what is already yours. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and let it come to you. It will, as surely as the sun rises, for your assumption is the bridge that carries you from desire to fulfillment. So be still, and know that it is done. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled means to inhabit the emotional and mental state of having already achieved what you desire, even if there is no outward evidence of it yet. This is the key to unlocking the creative power within you. When you imagine your desire as a present reality, you are shifting your consciousness to the state where that desire already exists. The world around you, though it may not immediately reflect your inner vision, will begin to reorganize itself to match the state you occupy within. I have always emphasized that your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are what shape your external reality. Therefore, if you wish to manifest something, you must not merely think about it or hope for it in the future. You must feel it as if it is already here. This goes beyond wishful thinking or positive affirmations. It is about genuinely becoming the version of yourself who has already received what you desire. For instance, if you desire financial abundance, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled means you would feel as though you are already wealthy. You would no longer worry about money or act out of lack, because in your inner world, you are already living in abundance. You would begin to think and behave in ways consistent with a person who is financially free. It is not about pretending or faking it, but about aligning your inner state with the reality you want to create. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you send a clear signal to your subconscious mind and to the universe. this is my reality. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is physically experienced. It accepts whatever you consistently impress upon it as truth. Over time, your outer reality will mold itself to reflect the inner truth you are living. This practice requires faith and persistence. There will be times when the outer world contradicts your inner assumption. You may feel tempted to give in to doubt or revert to old patterns of thinking. But if you remain faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled, continuously returning to that feeling, especially in moments of doubt, you will eventually see the manifestation of your desire in the physical world. You do not need to know how or when it will come to pass. Your job is simply to live in the assumption that it already has. The how will be taken care of by the unseen forces at work behind the scenes. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you bypass the need to control the external circumstances, and instead focus on the only thing within your control, your inner state. In this way, you become the creator of your reality, not by force or effort, but by aligning your inner world with the experience of your desire already being fulfilled. When you remain faithful to this state, the outer world will in time reflect your inner conviction. Be still and know is a powerful principle that speaks to the essence of faith and trust in the creative process. To be still means to quiet the incessant noise of the mind, the doubts, the worries, the fears, and the need to control every outcome. It is an invitation to step away from the chaos of external circumstances and find refuge in the silence of your own being, where true power resides. In this stillness, you are not trying to force results, but instead allowing the natural flow of life to unfold in your favor. When I speak of being still, I refer to a state of internal calm and unwavering confidence, even in the face of seeming obstacles or delays. This stillness is not passive. It is a deeply active trust in the unseen forces that are always at work, shaping and molding your reality according to your inner assumptions. These unseen forces, whether you call them the subconscious mind, the divine, or universal law, respond not to frantic action or restless worry, but to the quiet certainty that your desire is already being fulfilled. To know is to hold an inner conviction so strong that it is unshaken by what appears in the outer world. This knowing is beyond intellectual understanding. It is a deep, intuitive awareness that transcends logic. It means you are certain, beyond any doubt, that the outcome you desire is already on its way to you. Or better yet, it already exists in a realm beyond your current perception. This knowing is the essence of faith, the kind of faith that moves mountains. In stillness, you tap into a higher state of consciousness, where the need to struggle or strive fades away. You cease chasing external validation or looking for signs of progress because you trust that the process is already in motion. The seeds you planted in your imagination are being nurtured, and it's only a matter of time before they blossom into physical form. By being still, you release resistance, allowing the creative forces to do their work without interference from your conscious mind's doubts or fears. This stillness also requires patience, something that may feel challenging in a world that prizes quick results and immediate gratification. But true creation takes time. Just as a seed requires time to grow beneath the soil before it breaks through the surface, so too does your desire take time to manifest. In the interim, you are called to rest in the knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when there is no visible evidence yet. The greatest creators throughout history have understood this principle, that what truly matters is the conviction held within, not the circumstances surrounding them. Whether you are manifesting health, abundance, love, or success, your task is not to make things happen by force. Instead, your role is to trust in the process and to remain anchored in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing that the unseen forces are aligning everything on your behalf. In stillness, you come into alignment with the flow of life itself. You step back from the need to figure out how things will happen, and you simply rest in the belief that they will. This trust in the unseen is what activates the creative power within you. It is in the moments of quiet faith, when you release the need for control, that you become a magnet for the very things you desire. So be still and know. Trust that your inner conviction, when paired with the stillness of your mind, is enough to bring about the changes you seek. There is no need to rush, no need to push, and no need to worry. In the quiet of your mind and the certainty of your heart, trust the entire universe is working to fulfill your desire. Your desire is the beginning of creation, because it represents the first stirring of something deeper within you, a call from the divine, urging you toward expansion and fulfillment. Every genuine desire that arises in your heart is more than just a fleeting wish. It is a communication from the divine source of creation, a signal that you are ready to experience a new reality. Your desires are not random or arbitrary. They are intentional sparks of creative energy, placed within you to guide your journey in this world. I have always taught that your desires are the language through which the divine speaks, directing you toward your highest potential. When you feel the pull of a desire, whether for love, success, freedom, or growth, it is an indication that you are being invited to bring something new into existence. Desire is not something to be dismissed or feared, but rather embraced, for it is the starting point of every act of creation. At its core, desire is a reflection of the creative nature of life itself. Just as the universe continually expands and evolves, so too do we, through our desires, expand our consciousness and experience. When a desire arises within you, it is a sign that you are ready to step into a new state of being, to elevate your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Each desire is a seed, waiting to be nurtured by your imagination and belief, and it holds within it the potential to shape your reality. It is important to recognize that desires are not born out of lack or need. They do not arise to remind you of what you do not have, but rather to show you what is possible. They are the divine impulse calling you toward greater expression of life, love, and creativity. When you feel a deep, genuine desire, it is the universe telling you that you are capable of bringing that reality into existence. The desire itself is proof that the thing you seek is already available to you, waiting to be claimed. Your desires also serve as a compass, guiding you toward your purpose. They point you in the direction of your growth and expansion, urging you to move beyond your current limitations. When you honor your desires, you are aligning yourself with the flow of creation. You become an active participant in the divine process of bringing the unseen into the seen, the imagined into the real. Desire is also intimately connected to your imagination, which is the tool through which creation takes place. When a desire arises, it is your imagination that allows you to see, feel, and experience that desire as though it is already fulfilled. Through this process of vivid mental imagery and emotional engagement, you begin to breathe life into your desire, setting in motion the forces that will bring it into physical form. In this way, desire is not just the beginning of creation, it is the bridge between the unseen realm of potential and the physical world of manifestation. By nurturing your desires and giving them life in your imagination, you participate in the divine act of creation, transforming your inner world into your outer experience. Your desires are sacred. They are the whispers of the divine, calling you to create, expand, and evolve. And when you honor them, when you accept that they are meant to be realized, you align yourself with the creative forces of the universe, ready to bring forth a new reality from the depths of your being. Stop chasing the shadows. Do not chase after the shadows of life. Speaks to the illusion that fulfillment, success, or happiness exists outside of yourself in the fleeting, ever-changing external world. The shadows of life represent the distractions, the outward symbols of success or happiness that people often pursue, believing that if they can only obtain them, they will find peace or joy. However, these external things, whether they be material wealth, recognition, or relationships, are mere reflections of an inner state, not the source of it. When you chase after shadows, you are in effect giving your power away. You are operating from the belief that something outside of you holds the key to your contentment or fulfillment. This act of chasing reveals a deeper issue, a lack of faith in your own inner creative power. It is the belief that you are somehow incomplete as you are, and that external circumstances must be manipulated or controlled to bring you what you want. But as I teach, Everything you seek in the outer world is already within you, waiting to be realized through your imagination and belief. The true power of creation lies in your consciousness, in the way you perceive and feel about yourself. To chase after the things of the world is to misunderstand the nature of reality. The external world is simply a reflection of your internal state of mind. If you believe that you are lacking, that you must strive and chase to acquire happiness or success, then that belief will be mirrored back to you in the form of struggle and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, when you realize that you already possess everything you need within, through your ability to imagine, assume and believe, you no longer feel the need to chase anything. Instead, you become a conscious creator, drawing the things you desire to you effortlessly. Chasing the shadows of life keeps you in a perpetual state of wanting, of believing that something out there will complete you or bring you what you desire. But no matter how much you accumulate or how hard you pursue these shadows, they will always elude you because they are not the source of fulfillment. The true source of all that you seek lies within your own consciousness. It is your inner state that determines what you attract into your life, not the amount of effort or external chasing you do. To chase after the shadows also means to place your faith in the physical world as the ultimate reality. This is a misunderstanding of how creation works. The outer world is transient and subject to constant change. It is not the cause of your experiences, but the effect. The true cause of your reality is within you, your beliefs, your assumptions, and your imagination. When you realize this, you stop looking outside of yourself for validation or fulfillment. Instead, you turn inward to the source of all creation and begin to craft your reality from within. In this way, the act of chasing reveals a lack of faith, not just in the power of your own consciousness, but also in the divine process of creation. When you chase, you are telling the universe that you do not trust that your desires are already in motion, that you do not believe in the unseen forces working behind the scenes to bring your desires into reality. Chasing creates resistance because it is rooted in fear and doubt, the fear that you will not get what you want unless you force it into being. Instead of chasing, you are called to recognize that you are already the source of everything you desire. The love, success, abundance, or peace you seek are not outside of you. They are states of consciousness that you can cultivate within. Once you align with these states internally, the outer world will naturally reflect them back to you without the need for struggle or pursuit. You do not need to run after the shadows of life when you understand that the light is within you. Living in the end is the key to manifestation. Living in the end is a central principle in my teachings, emphasizing the importance of mentally and emotionally dwelling in the state of your desire already being fulfilled. It means that instead of focusing on the process, the steps, or the obstacles between you and your goal, you shift your attention entirely to the end result, living in the assumption that it is already yours. In doing so, you align your inner world with the reality you wish to create, and the external world, in time, will conform to match that inner conviction. To live in the end, you must imagine and feel what it would be like if your desire were already realized. This requires that you let go of thinking about the present limitations or the conditions that suggest your desire is far off. Instead, you mentally transport yourself into the future, into the state of having already achieved what you seek. The feeling is the key. If you desire success, for instance, you would no longer think about how you will achieve it or what stands in your way. Instead, you would focus on the feeling of already being successful. How would you feel? How would you act? What would your life look like from that point of view? This practice goes beyond mere visualization. It is about adopting the emotional state of your fulfilled desire. I have always stressed that feeling is the key. The sensation of living in the end is what gives power to the mental picture you hold. When you emotionally feel as though your wish is already accomplished, you impress that state upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious, in turn, accepts this new reality as fact, even if it has not yet manifested in the physical world. Once this impression is made, the creative forces of the universe begin to move in alignment with your inner state. bringing about the conditions necessary for your desire to materialize. Living in the end requires persistence. It is not enough to imagine your wish fulfilled once or twice. You must continually return to that state of consciousness, especially when faced with external circumstances that seem contrary to your desire. The outer world may still reflect the old reality for a time, but you must remain faithful to the feeling of your fulfilled desire. The more you inhabit this mental and emotional state, the more quickly the outer world will shift to reflect your inner assumption. I often speak of the importance of letting go of the how. When you live in the end, you release the need to control the process or figure out how your desire will come to pass. You trust that by embodying the state of fulfillment, the means will naturally unfold. This can be a challenge, as the human mind often wants to plan, strategize, and anticipate every step. However, living in the end requires a surrender of that need for control. It asks you to trust that once you have aligned with your desire mentally and emotionally, the universe will organize the details in ways you could never have planned or predicted. It is also important to understand that living in the end is not about pretending or faking it in the physical world. You are not required to act outwardly as though your desire is fulfilled when it clearly hasn't manifested yet. Instead, the work is done within, by consistently returning to the state of fulfillment in your imagination. It is the internal shift, the quiet yet powerful alignment of your inner state, that initiates the changes in the outer world. This principle of living in the end reflects the law that the inner world precedes the outer world. Reality is created from within, and when you persist in the mental and emotional state of your wish fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to mirror that inner state. Whether it takes days, weeks, or months, the external world will without fail conform to the reality you have been living in your imagination. In this way, living in the end is the ultimate expression of faith. It means acting as though your desire is already accomplished, not because you have proof in the external world, but because you trust in the power of your imagination and the creative forces at play. The more you live in the end, the more you become a vibrational match to the reality you seek, and the more effortlessly it will be drawn to you. Imagination, not effort, creates your reality, speaks to the idea that the true source of creation lies not in physical exertion or hard work, but in the visions and beliefs you hold within your mind. In my teachings, I emphasize that imagination is the creative force behind everything you experience in life. It is not the amount of effort you put in or how hard you strive to achieve your goals that determines your success. Rather, it is the power of your inner vision and your ability to believe in that vision that shapes the reality you encounter. I have always said that imagination is the gateway to all possibilities. When you imagine something vividly, you are planting the seeds of its future manifestation. Your mind, through imagination, is the architect of your life. It can create worlds, experiences, and outcomes that are far beyond what physical effort alone could accomplish. This is because imagination taps into the unseen forces of the universe, the divine creative power that brings thoughts and desires into form. In this way, imagination is the starting point of all creation, whether it's a career, a relationship, or a personal achievement. Effort, on the other hand, is the outer expression of trying to make things happen. Society often promotes the belief that hard work is the key to success, and while action has its place, it is not the root cause of your results. People can work tirelessly for years without achieving their desires if their inner beliefs and imagination are not aligned with their goals. This is because effort without belief is empty. It lacks the creative power needed to bring about true transformation. You could toil endlessly, but if you are imagining failure, struggle, or limitation, that is what you will manifest, regardless of how hard you work. When you focus your imagination on seeing and feeling the end result of your desires, you activate the subconscious mind, which responds to images and emotions, not physical effort. The subconscious mind doesn't care how much work you do. It only responds to the state of consciousness you hold. If your inner state is one of success, abundance, and fulfillment, the subconscious will bring forth the circumstances and opportunities that match that inner vision. Imagination allows you to bypass the limitations of the physical world. Through your imagination, you can transcend the constraints of your current circumstances and create new realities that were previously impossible. This is the true secret of creation, that your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner world. When you change your imagination, when you begin to see and feel yourself as already having what you desire, you set in motion forces that will reorganize your external reality to match your inner vision. The key is to understand that your imagination is not just a tool for daydreaming or wishful thinking. It is the divine creative faculty within you, the very power by which God creates through you. When you use your imagination consciously and deliberately, you become a co-creator with the divine, shaping your reality from within. So remember, it is not through struggle or effort that you create the life you desire. It is through the power of your imagination, aligned with faith and feeling, that all things are made possible. Your imagination is your greatest gift. Use it wisely, and watch as your world transforms to match the visions you hold within. Go now and create the life you were meant to live, not through struggle, but through the divine power of your imagination.
My dear friends, I want you to understand something tonight that will forever change how you walk through this world. You are not merely human beings having a spiritual experience. You are God individualized, walking in flesh, carrying within you the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence. Tonight, I stand before you not as a teacher speaking to students, but as consciousness addressing itself. For there is only one consciousness, one creative power, one divine being expressing itself as the many. You and I are that one being, dreaming we are separate, yet always united in the divine creative act. From the moment you drew your first breath, you began speaking reality into being. Yet most of you remain unconscious of this divine gift. You've been conditioned to believe that words are merely sounds, that thoughts are fleeting wisps with no substance. But I tell you now, this is the greatest deception ever perpetuated upon humanity. Your words are not empty vibrations disappearing into air. They are living seeds planted in the fertile soil of consciousness, growing into the harvest of your experience. Every syllable you utter, every thought you entertain is an act of creation. You are always creating, my friends. The question is, what are you creating? The ancient Hebrews understood this. They called it dabar, the word that creates by speaking. When they spoke of God's word, they weren't referring to mere communication, but to the active creative force that brings worlds into being. This same power flows through you every moment. Your voice is the voice of the infinite, particularized as you. Consider the very word abracadabra. It means I create as I speak. This wasn't meaningless incantation, but recognition of the fundamental truth of existence. Every word you speak is an abracadabra moment, whether you realize it or not. The only question is whether you're creating consciously or unconsciously. Most of you live imprisoned by the very words you speak. You say, I can't afford this, and wonder why abundance eludes you. You declare nothing ever works out for me, and then marvel at your string of disappointments. You proclaim, I'm not good enough, and question why success feels so distant. These are not mere statements. They are commands issued to the creative power within you. Your subconscious mind, that faithful servant, accepts every word as instruction and works tirelessly to manifest exactly what you've decreed. I have watched countless individuals destroy their lives not through external circumstances, but through the poison of their own speech. A woman comes to me saying, I always attract the wrong men. She doesn't realize she's just issued a divine decree. She's commanded her subconscious to arrange circumstances where she will always attract the wrong men, and her faithful servant obeys. A man tells me, I can never get ahead financially. He speaks this with such conviction, such certainty, that he seals his fate with his own words. His subconscious mind, receiving this as absolute truth, ensures that he never gets ahead financially. Listen carefully. You are the operant power in your world. There is no force outside of you determining your fate. Your circumstances are the perfect mirror of your inner conversations, reflecting back to you precisely what you've been affirming in the secret chambers of your mind. The tragedy is not that life is difficult. The tragedy is that most people make it so through their unconscious use of the creative word. They speak lack and wonder why they're poor. They speak sickness and wonder why they're ill. They speak loneliness and wonder why love passes them by. Now I will share with you the secret that transforms lives. Learn to speak from the end, instead of begging for what you want. Assume you already possess it. This is not positive thinking. This is the fundamental law of creation. When you say, I am wealthy, you're not lying to yourself. You're claiming your divine inheritance. When you declare, I am loved, you're not engaging in fantasy. You're recognizing the truth of your being. The words I am are the creative formula of existence itself. They are the name of God. And when you use them, you speak with divine authority. Do you remember when Moses asked God for his name? The answer came, I am that I am. This is not merely a name. It's the creative principle of existence. And every time you say, I am, you're invoking this same creative power. You're not speaking about yourself. You're speaking as yourself, as the divine being you truly are. Every time you follow I am with anything, you are literally defining your reality. I am tired creates tiredness. I am broke creates poverty. I am confused creates confusion. But I am abundant creates abundance. I am loved creates love. I am successful creates success. The power of assumption is this. You don't need to see it to believe it. You need to believe it to see it. Assumption is not hoping or wishing. It's accepting as true what your senses deny. It's walking in the faith that what you've assumed will inevitably manifest. I knew a man who assumed he was a successful author, though he'd never published a word. He spoke as an author. He felt as an author. He introduced himself to his own mind as a successful author. Within 2 years, publishers were seeking him out. His assumption had hardened into fact. Your inner conversations are sacred ceremonies of creation. The thoughts you think repeatedly, the mental arguments you have, the scenarios you replay. These are not idle mental chatter. They are prayers, and every prayer is answered. Most of you pray without ceasing, but you pray for what you don't want. You have inner conversations of lack, limitation, and fear. You imagine failure, rehearse disappointment, and wonder why these experiences manifest in your world. Let me share something profound. Your mind is a theater where you are simultaneously the playwright, director, and lead actor. Every mental conversation is a scene you're writing and performing. The tragedy is that most people write and perform dramas of defeat rather than comedies of triumph. I challenge you tonight. Begin to monitor your inner speech as carefully as you would watch over precious treasure. When you catch yourself in mental conversations that contradict your desires, stop immediately. Revise the conversation. See it ending in triumph, not defeat. Hear yourself speaking words of victory, not victimhood. Your inner speech is more powerful than your outer speech because it operates below the threshold of conscious resistance. When you speak aloud, your conscious mind might object, that's not true. But your inner conversations slip past these defenses and plant themselves directly into the subconscious soil. The mystics knew this. They practiced what they called the prayer of the heart, continuous inner speech aligned with divine truth. They understood that the kingdom of heaven is within, and it's accessed through the quality of our inner conversations. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not merely scripture. It is the instruction manual for your divine nature. You are that Word made flesh. You are consciousness expressing itself through the creative power of speech. The word universe itself reveals this truth. Universe means one word or one song. All of creation is the single word of God, expressing itself in infinite variations. You are one note in that cosmic symphony, but you have the power to determine what note you play. Every morning when you wake, you have the opportunity to speak a new world into existence. Instead of groaning about another difficult day, try this. I am grateful for this day of infinite possibilities. Instead of complaining about your challenges, declare, I am blessed with divine solutions to every situation. The word blessing itself reveals this truth. It means to make sacred by speech. Every time you speak positively about your life, you are blessing it into greater expression. You are invoking the divine creative power to manifest more of what you're blessing. But understand this. Words without feeling are like seeds without water. They contain potential, but they won't grow. Your words must be watered by the feeling of their truth. When you say, I am wealthy, you must feel wealthy. When you declare, I am loved, you must feel loved. The feeling is the secret ingredient that transforms words from mere sounds into creative commands. Your emotional responses are not random reactions. They are trained behaviors based on the words you've been programmed to use. When something goes wrong, most of you immediately reach for words like terrible, awful, disaster. These words don't describe your experience. They create it. What if instead you reached for words like interesting, challenging, or an opportunity for growth? I'm not asking you to deny difficulty, but to respond to it from a position of power rather than victimhood. I knew a woman who transformed her life by changing one word. Instead of saying, I have to go to work, she began saying, I get to go to work. That simple shift from have to get to changed her entire relationship with her job. Within months, she received a promotion she'd been seeking for years. The word problem itself creates resistance and struggle. Try replacing it with situation or project. Notice how your entire emotional response shifts. The situation remains the same, but your relationship to it transforms completely. Here's a revolutionary practice. For 1 week, eliminate the word try from your vocabulary. Instead of I'll try to succeed, say I will succeed. Instead of I'll try to be happy, declare I am happy. The word try is an admission of expected failure. It's a hedge bet against your own success. Replace I hope with I know. Hope implies doubt. You hope because you're not certain. But when you know, you speak with divine authority. I hope things work out becomes I know things are working out perfectly. Gratitude is perhaps the most transformative word in human language. But most people practice gratitude incorrectly. They're grateful for what they have, which keeps them focused on their current limitations. True gratitude is being grateful for what you're becoming, for what's already yours, in divine mind. Instead of I'm grateful for my small apartment, try I'm grateful for my expanding living situation. Instead of I'm grateful for my job, declare I'm grateful for my flourishing career. You're not being dishonest. You're speaking from the end, from the fulfilled desire. The word thank you carries tremendous creative power. When you thank life for something before it appears, you're operating from divine consciousness. You're acknowledging that in the realm of imagination, which is the only reality, your desire is already fulfilled. I practice what I call prophetic gratitude, being grateful for things that haven't yet appeared in the physical world, but are absolutely real in divine mind. Thank you for my perfect health, I say, even if my body shows symptoms of illness. Thank you for my abundant prosperity, I declare, even if my bank account suggests otherwise. Modern science confirms what ancient wisdom has always known. Sound creates form. When you speak, you're not just moving air, you're organizing energy into patterns that will eventually manifest as your experience. Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments with water crystals revealed that positive words create beautiful, symmetrical patterns, while negative words create chaotic, fragmented forms. Since your body is approximately 70% water, imagine the effect your words have on your cellular structure. Every word carries a frequency, and every frequency attracts like frequencies. Speak words of love, and love vibrates toward you. Speak words of abundance, and abundance responds to your call. This is not metaphor, it is the law of life itself. The ancient Egyptians understood this. They believed that speaking the name of something gave you power over it. This is why they were careful about which names they spoke and which words they used in their sacred ceremonies. Your body, being mostly water, is particularly responsive to the words you speak. When you say, I am sick, your very cells receive this as instruction. When you declare, I am healthy and strong, your body responds by aligning with this truth. You are literally commanding your own biology through your speech. But here's what's even more remarkable. Your words don't just affect you, they affect everyone and everything around you. When you speak words of peace, you create a field of peace that influences others. When you speak words of love, you become a broadcast station of love, affecting every person you encounter. Understand this. When you speak with the voice of God. There is no power greater than the power speaking through you right now. The same consciousness that spoke light into existence speaks through your voice every moment of every day. This is why Jesus said, by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned. Your words are not just sounds. They are decrees issued by divine consciousness. Every word is either building or destroying, blessing or cursing, creating heaven or hell in your experience. Most of you speak carelessly, unconsciously, as if words were without power. But I tell you, there is no such thing as idle words. Every word is creative. Every statement is a prayer. Every declaration is a command to the universe. The word authority comes from author. You are the author of your life story, and authors have authority over their creation. You can write any story you choose. You can create any character you wish to be. You can design any plot you desire to live. But with this authority comes responsibility. You are responsible for every word you speak, every thought you think, every story you tell yourself. You cannot blame circumstances, other people, or external conditions for your experience. You are the operant power, the creative force, the author of your reality. Love is the highest frequency, the most creative force in the universe. When you speak from love, you speak with maximum creative power. This is why Jesus emphasized love above all else. Not as a moral imperative, but as a creative principle. The word love in English comes from the Sanskrit lub, meaning to desire. True love is divine desire expressing itself. When you love something, you're desiring it into greater expression. When you speak words of love, you're creating more of what you love. But here's the secret. You must first love yourself. The quality of your self-talk determines the quality of your entire life experience. If you speak to yourself with criticism, judgment, and harshness, you're creating a reality of criticism, judgment, and harshness. Begin speaking to yourself as you would speak to your most beloved friend. Replace "I'm so stupid" with "I'm learning and growing." Replace "I always mess up" with "I'm becoming better every day." Replace "I hate my life" with "I'm grateful for this opportunity to create something beautiful." The relationship you have with yourself through your inner speech is the template for every other relationship in your life. Speak to yourself with love, and you'll attract people who speak to you with love. Speak to yourself with respect, and you'll attract people who respect you. Even your relationship with time can be transformed through conscious speech. Instead of saying, "I don't have enough time," declare, "I have all the time I need." Instead of "time is running out," affirm, "Time expands to accommodate my needs." The word present has multiple meanings. It's the current moment, and it's also a gift. When you're truly present, when you're speaking from the now, instead of past regrets or future anxieties, you're giving yourself the gift of creative power. Stop saying someday and start saying today. Stop saying eventually and start saying now. The only moment you have creative power is this moment. The only time you can speak a new reality into being is now. "I will be happy someday" is a decree that happiness will always be in the future. "I am happy now" is a decree that calls happiness into the present moment. Your creative word operates in the eternal now. Your words don't just create your individual reality. They contribute to the collective consciousness of humanity. Every word you speak either adds to the sum total of love, wisdom, and truth in the world, or it adds to the sum total of fear, ignorance, and limitation. When you speak words of peace, you're not just creating peace in your own life, you're adding to the peace of the world. When you speak words of abundance, you're not just creating abundance for yourself, you're contributing to the abundance consciousness of humanity. This is why it matters what you say, even in private. Your words have impact beyond your personal sphere. They ripple out through the interconnected web of consciousness, affecting people you'll never meet, situations you'll never know about. Be conscious of your contribution to the collective conversation. Are you adding to the fear or the faith? Are you contributing to the problem or the solution? Are you speaking limitation or liberation? Words have the power to heal yourself and others. When you speak words of health, vitality, and wholeness, you're invoking the healing power of consciousness. Your body responds to your words because your body is made of the same consciousness that speaks through you. Instead of describing your symptoms in vivid detail, speak of your healing. Instead of talking about what's wrong, speak of what's becoming right. Instead of identifying with illness, identify with wellness. I've seen people heal themselves through conscious speech. A woman with chronic pain began saying, "My body is healing perfectly," instead of "My pain is terrible." A man with financial troubles began declaring, "I am prospered in all my ways," instead of "I'm broke." Their words became the bridge from illness to health, from lack to abundance. But remember, healing words must be spoken with feeling. If you're affirming health while feeling sick, you're creating from sickness consciousness. Feel the truth of your words, feel the reality of your healing, feel the certainty of your wholeness. Every word you speak is like a child you send out into the world. Some of your word children are beautiful, bringing joy and blessing wherever they go. Others are destructive, causing pain and limitation. Which children are you sending out? Your words have a life of their own once you speak them. They go forth and create after their kind. Words of love create loving situations. Words of fear create fearful circumstances. Words of abundance create abundant conditions. Be as careful with your words as you would be with your actual children. Nurture them with feeling. Guide them with intention. Send them out with love. They will return to you multiplied, bringing experiences that match their nature. The metaphors you use shape your reality. If you describe your life as a struggle, you'll experience struggle. If you call your challenges mountains to climb, you'll find them difficult and exhausting. If you see your setbacks as learning opportunities, you'll extract wisdom from every experience. Choose your metaphors consciously. Instead of life being hard, let it be an adventure. Instead of work being a grind, let it be a stage for your talents. Instead of relationships being complicated, let them be opportunities for love. The metaphor of life as a dream is particularly powerful. When you realize that life is consciousness dreaming itself into experience, you understand that you can change the dream by changing your inner speech. You're not trapped in someone else's dream, you're the dreamer. Learning to say no to negative speech is as important as learning to say yes to positive speech. When someone tries to engage you in conversation about limitation, lack, or fear, you have the right to decline participation. I don't accept that reality is a powerful phrase. That's not my experience, is another. You don't have to argue or convince, you simply refuse to join in conversations that contradict your divine nature. Protect your consciousness as carefully as you would protect your most precious possession. What you allow into your mind through speech, your own and others, becomes the raw material of your experience. Your true nature is the eternal yes of God, the divine affirmation that says yes to love, yes to life, yes to all good. When you align your speech with this eternal yes, you become a blessing to yourself and everyone around you. Say yes to your dreams. Say yes to your potential. Say yes to the divine possibilities that are always available to you. Your yes is the creative word that opens doors, creates opportunities, and manifests miracles. You came into this world with a sacred commission to be a creator, to speak worlds into existence, to demonstrate the power of consciousness made manifest. Every day you postpone this recognition is a day you live beneath your divine heritage. Your words are the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between imagination and reality, between what is and what can be. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances through the divine power of your speech. You are here to prove that limitation is an illusion, that lack is a lie, that fear is a fiction. You are here to demonstrate that love is the only reality, that abundance is your natural state, that joy is your divine inheritance. I promise you this, as you begin to speak from your divinity rather than your humanity, as you learn to use words as tools of creation rather than description, your entire world will transform. Doors that were closed will open. Opportunities that were invisible will appear. People who can help you will be drawn to you. This is not magic. This is natural law. This is not wishful thinking. This is the science of creation. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are not becoming something different. You are accepting something that has always been true. The transformation will not be immediate, but it will be inevitable. As you persist in conscious speech, as you refuse to accept limitation as your reality, as you speak from the end of your desires, the universe will rearrange itself to match your words. Old patterns will dissolve. New possibilities will emerge. What seemed impossible will become inevitable. What felt distant will draw near. What appeared difficult will become natural. As you transform your own speech and consequently your own life, you'll become an inspiration to others. Your example will give others permission to examine their own use of words. Your transformation will create ripples of awakening in everyone around you. You'll become what I call a consciousness lifter. Someone whose very presence elevates the conversation, whose words inspire hope, whose faith makes the impossible seem possible. This is not ego. This is divine service. You serve others by demonstrating the power that lives within them too. Children will feel safe around you because you don't speak fear. Adults will seek your company because you speak possibility. The world will benefit from your conscious use of the creative word. Make conscious speech a spiritual practice. Just as some people pray or meditate, make the conscious use of words your form of worship. Every positive word is a prayer. Every empowering statement is an act of faith. Every declaration of truth is a moment of communion with the divine. Begin each day by speaking your intentions into existence. End each day by blessing everything you experienced. Throughout the day, catch yourself speaking unconsciously and immediately revise your words to align with your highest vision. Create rituals around your speech. Before important conversations, silently affirm that your words will be guided by wisdom and love. Before making decisions, declare that you have divine guidance. Before entering challenging situations, speak peace and success into the experience. Will you make this commitment with me tonight? Will you agree to treat your words as the sacred creative tools they are? Will you refuse to speak limitation over your life and instead declare the truth of your infinite potential? This is not a commitment to positive thinking. It's a commitment to truth thinking. It's not about denying reality, it's about creating reality. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about speaking everything into greater perfection. Your commitment is sacred because your creative power is sacred. You're not just changing your vocabulary. You're claiming your divine inheritance. You're not just speaking differently. You're living differently. This moment, right now, is the moment of your transformation. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel ready. Now. The power is present. The opportunity is here. The time is now. Your transformation begins with your next word. Your new life starts with your next sentence. The kingdom of heaven, which is simply life lived from divine consciousness, awaits your recognition. As you leave here tonight, you take with you the most powerful creative tool in existence, your voice. Use it consciously. Use it lovingly. Use it powerfully. Use it to create the life you've always dreamed of living. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to practice conscious creation. Every phone call is a chance to speak truth. Every interaction is a moment to demonstrate the power of the divine word. You are the word made flesh. You are consciousness individualized. You are the operant power in your world. Begin now to speak as the God you are, and watch as your world rearranges itself to confirm your divine declarations. The power is yours. The choice is yours. The time is now. Go forth and create with your words. Speak your world into being. Live from the end of your desires, and watch as the middle fills itself in with divine precision. This is your divine inheritance. This is your sacred power. This is your time. The word is made flesh through you. The universe is waiting for your command. Eternity is listening for your voice. Begin now. Remember, you are not learning to use power. You are learning to recognize the power you've always possessed. Every word is a choice. Every choice is creation. Every creation is divine. The infinite creative power of the universe flows through your voice at this very moment. Use it wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it now.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight we are going to go deeper than we have ever gone before into the one thing that determines whether your desire manifests or remains forever a fantasy. Tonight I am going to take you into the very heart of manifestation itself. Tonight you are going to truly understand for the first time what it means to feel. You have heard it 1,000 times. Feeling is the secret. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Every teacher says it. Every book repeats it. And yet most of you still do not know what this means. You think you do. You believe you are doing it, but you are not. And that is why your desires remain unfulfilled. Tonight that changes. Tonight I am going to show you what feeling actually is, what it is not, and how to master it so completely that manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let me start by showing you what you are doing wrong. And I know you are doing it wrong because if you were doing it right, you would already have everything you desire. So let me show you the mistake nearly everyone makes. When I tell you to feel your desire fulfilled, what do? You try to generate an emotion. You try to feel happy. You try to feel excited. You try to feel grateful. You sit there and you work yourself up into an emotional state. And you think, yes, I am feeling it. I am so happy. I am so excited. And you do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day feeling quite proud of yourself for doing the work. And nothing manifests. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and you wonder, but I felt it. I felt so happy when I imagined having my desire. Why is it not here? I will tell you why. Because you were feeling the wrong thing. Happiness is not the feeling. Excitement is not the feeling. Gratitude, joy, relief, peace. None of these emotions are the feeling. These are the effects of the feeling. but they are not the feeling itself. Let me give you an aha moment right now. Stop everything you think you know and listen carefully. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. Let that sink in. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. When I say assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I do not mean feel happy about your wish being fulfilled. I mean feel yourself to be the person who has your wish fulfilled. Do you see the difference? One is an emotion. The other is an identity. One is a temporary state you can conjure up and then lose 5 minutes later. The other is a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. Now let me go deeper. Let me show you what this feeling truly is, because until you understand this, you cannot master it. The feeling is the inner knowing that you are something. It is the silent, wordless conviction of being. Think about how you feel yourself to be human right now, not the emotion of being human. The sense of being human. It is not something you have to convince yourself of. It is not something you try to feel. It is simply what you are. You are human. This is not a hope. This is not a belief. This is a knowing so deep, so automatic, so natural that you never question it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I feel happy imagining I am wealthy, but I am wealthy. Not the emotion of wealth, the being of wealth, the identity of wealth, the naturalness of wealth. Let me show you how this works in your current reality. Right now, you feel yourself to be a certain kind of person. Perhaps you feel yourself to be someone who struggles with money. This is not an emotion. You do not wake up every morning and feel sad about money. The feeling is deeper than that. It is the silent assumption running beneath all your thoughts, I am someone who struggles with money. This is your sense of being regarding money. And because you feel yourself to be this, because this is your inner knowing, your world reflects it perfectly. Circumstances arise that match this feeling. Bills come. Expenses appear. Opportunities slip away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your world must reflect the person you feel yourself to be. When you want to manifest wealth, you cannot simply feel happy about the idea of being wealthy while continuing to feel yourself to be someone who struggles. The happy feeling is temporary. It fades, but the deep feeling of being that persists, and the persistent feeling is what creates. So the question is not, did I feel happy when I visualized? The question is, who do I feel myself to be? Let me take you even deeper now. There are 2 levels of feeling, and you must understand both. The first level is what I call surface feeling. This is emotion, happiness, excitement, gratitude, relief. These are real. These are valid. These can be part of the experience. But they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the house, not the house itself. The second level is what I call foundational feeling. This is identity. This is being. This is the deep, silent knowing of what you are. And this is what creates your reality. Most of you are working only with surface feeling. You generate emotions during your practice and think you have done the work. But the moment you stop focusing, the emotion fades and you return to your foundational feeling, which has not changed at all. You still feel yourself to be the person who does not have, who is waiting, who is hoping. And so nothing changes in your outer world because nothing changed in your inner being. But when you shift the foundational feeling, when you change who you feel yourself to be at the deepest level, everything in your outer world must shift to match. This is law. This is absolute. This cannot fail. So how do you shift foundational feeling? How do you change not just what you feel about something, but who you feel yourself to be? That is what I am going to teach you now. The secret to mastering feeling is understanding that feeling is not something you do. Feeling is something you are. You do not do being human. You are human. You do not do having hands. You have hands. The having is natural, automatic, assumed. There is no effort in it. This is what you must achieve with your desire. Not doing the feeling of having it, but being the person who has it. And the difference between doing and being is everything. Let me show you how to move from doing to being. Right now, I want you to think about something you already have, something simple. Perhaps you have a bed, perhaps you have a favorite cup, perhaps you have a particular item of clothing you love. Choose something you have without question. Now, how do you feel about having this thing? Notice that you do not have to generate a feeling. You do not have to convince yourself you have it. You do not have to visualize having it. You simply know you have it. This knowing is so natural, so assumed, so automatic, that you never think about it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I am trying to feel like I have wealth, but I have wealth. The knowing is simple, natural, assumed. It requires no effort. It is just what is. But how do you get to this place of natural knowing when your current circumstances scream the opposite? How do you feel yourself to be wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel yourself to be loved when you sleep alone? How do you feel yourself to be healthy when your body is sick? This is where most people give up. They say, but Neville, I cannot feel wealthy when I have no money. I cannot feel loved when I am alone. The circumstances contradict the feeling. And this is where I must wake you up to the truth. The circumstances do not create the feeling. The feeling creates the circumstances. You think you will feel wealthy when you have money. But you will have money when you feel wealthy. You think you will feel loved when someone loves you. But someone will love you when you feel loved. You think you will feel healthy when your body heals. But your body will heal when you feel healthy. The feeling must come first, always. And the feeling is not dependent on circumstances. The feeling is dependent only on your imagination. Now let me teach you how to actually enter the feeling. How to shift from the person you have been feeling yourself to be to the person you desire to feel yourself to be. This is not about emotion. This is not about trying. This is about a gentle shift in awareness, a subtle turning of attention that changes everything. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to feel who you are right now, not think about who you are. Feel who you are. Notice the silent sense of self that exists beneath all your thoughts. This is you. This is your current sense of being. Now I want you to notice something. This sense of self, this feeling of being who you are, it is not solid, it is not fixed. It is actually quite fluid. You can shift it simply by shifting your awareness. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely different than you do now. Perhaps a time when you felt confident, powerful, certain. For just a moment, remember that version of you, not the circumstances of that time, but the sense of self, the feeling of being that person. Do you notice that just by remembering, just by turning your attention to that version of you, something shifts? You feel different, not dramatically, not with great emotion. But there is a subtle shift in your sense of being. This is what I want you to understand. You can shift who you feel yourself to be simply by shifting your attention. And when you shift who you feel yourself to be, you shift what you create. So here is the practice. When you want to manifest something, do not try to generate emotion about having it. Instead, gently shift your awareness to being the person who has it. How do you do this? You imagine. But not in the way you have been imagining. Not creating a scene and watching yourself in it, but stepping into the scene and being yourself in it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most of you would visualize money. Perhaps see yourself looking at a bank statement. Maybe imagine yourself buying something expensive. And you would try to feel excited or happy or grateful about this. But this is external. You are watching yourself have wealth. You are feeling emotions about the idea of wealth, but you are not being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine being the wealthy version of you, not doing wealthy things, being the wealthy person. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how does a wealthy person feel about themselves? Not about their money, about themselves. What is their sense of self? What is their internal state? A wealthy person feels secure. Not because they have money, but as a fundamental sense of self. Security is who they are. A wealthy person feels free. They feel relaxed. They feel like they have options. They feel like they are enough.
They feel valuable. They feel worthy. These are not emotions. These are states of being. And you can enter these states right now without a single dollar in your bank account, simply by shifting your awareness. Try it now. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am secure. I am free. I have options. I am valuable. I am worthy. Not as affirmations you are trying to believe, but as a gentle recognition of a version of you that already exists in imagination. Feel how this version of you moves through the world. Feel how this version of you thinks about money. Feel how this version of you makes decisions. Feel how this version of you speaks to others. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply being this version of you. And the more you practice being this version, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your outer world shifts to match who you are being. Let me show you the crucial difference between trying to feel and actually feeling, because this is where most people get stuck. When you try to feel, there is effort, there is reaching, there is a sense of, I do not have this yet, but I am trying to convince myself I do. This effort itself is the problem, because effort implies lack. You only try to feel what you do not already feel. You only try to be what you are not already being. But when you simply are, there is no effort. There is just a gentle resting in the state. It is like when you sit in a chair. You do not try to sit. You do not convince yourself you are sitting. You simply sit. And the sitting is natural, easy, effortless. This is how feeling your desire fulfilled should be. Natural, easy, effortless. You are simply resting in the state of being the person who has your desire. Here is how you know you are trying versus being. If there is strain, you are trying. If there is peace, you are being. If you are working hard to maintain the feeling, you are trying. If the feeling is simply there, quiet and natural, you are being. Most of you are exhausting yourselves trying to feel. And then you wonder why the feeling does not last. It does not last because you are treating it like a doing instead of a being. You are treating it like an activity you must perform, instead of a state you simply inhabit. Now let me give you another aha moment. You cannot lose a state of being. You can only step out of it. The state is always there. You are simply choosing which state to inhabit with your awareness. Right now, infinite states exist. The state of being wealthy exists. The state of being loved exists. The state of being healthy exists. They are not somewhere in the future. They are here now in consciousness. And you can step into any of them simply by turning your awareness to them. When you lose the feeling, you have not actually lost anything. You have simply shifted your awareness back to the old state. The new state is still there. You have just stopped being it. So mastering the feeling is not about holding on to something. It is about learning to continuously return your awareness to the state you wish to inhabit, over and over, gently, naturally, until being in that state becomes more natural than being in the old state. Now let me give you the test that tells you whether you have truly mastered the feeling or whether you are still just playing with surface emotions. The test is this. Does it feel natural? When you think about your desire, does it feel natural to have it? Not exciting, not thrilling, natural. Like of course you have it. Like it is simply what is. Think about the things you already have. They feel natural. You do not get excited thinking about them. You do not need to convince yourself you have them. You simply know you have them. And the knowing is quiet, calm, natural. This is what your desire must feel like. Not, oh my God, I am so excited, I have this. But of course I have this. This is just how things are. When the desire feels natural, you have mastered the feeling. When it still feels exciting or unbelievable, you are still working with surface emotion, not foundational being. Here is another test. Can you forget about it? Not in the sense of giving up on it, but in the sense of not needing to constantly think about it, or check for it, or monitor it. Things you truly have you can forget about. You do not spend all day thinking about your bed or your shoes or your name. You have them. They are yours. You can forget about them and go about your life. But things you are trying to manifest, you cannot forget about. You obsess over them. You check for them. You wonder when they will arrive. This constant checking is proof that you have not truly felt yourself to be the person who has them. Because the person who has them does not check. They already know. So when you can think about your desire with the same casual naturalness that you think about anything else you possess, you have mastered the feeling. When you can go hours or days without obsessing over whether it is coming, you have mastered the feeling. When the having of it feels so natural that you sometimes forget you once did not have it, you have mastered the feeling. Now let me give you a specific technique for developing this natural feeling, for moving from trying to being, for saturating yourself so completely in the state that it becomes your new normal. I call this saturation because you are going to saturate your consciousness with the state of being the person who has your desire, until that state becomes as natural as breathing. Here is how you do it. You are going to spend one full day, just one day to start, being the person who has your desire, not visualizing about having it, not hoping you will have it, being the person who has it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are going to move through your day as this person. You are going to think their thoughts. You are going to make their decisions. You are going to respond to situations as they would respond. You are going to inhabit their state of being completely. This does not mean you pretend you see money in your account when you do not. This does not mean you act as if externally. This means you feel yourself to be internally the person who has what you desire, and you let that internal state inform how you move through your day. Let me show you how this works practically. Suppose you desire wealth. For one day, you are going to feel yourself to be a wealthy person, not someone trying to become wealthy, not someone hoping to be wealthy, a wealthy person. When you wake up as a wealthy person. How does a wealthy person feel when they wake up? Probably secure, relaxed, free. Feel this. Not as an emotion you generate, but as a state you inhabit. You are a wealthy person. This is who you are today. When you go about your morning routine, you do so as a wealthy person. You shower as someone who has financial freedom. You dress as someone who feels valuable and worthy. You eat breakfast as someone who knows they have options and resources. Notice I am not saying pretend to be rich. I am saying be the person who feels wealthy. There is a difference. Being wealthy is an internal state. It is a sense of self. It is a feeling of security, freedom, worth. And you can feel this right now regardless of your bank account. Throughout your day, every decision you make it from this state. Every thought you think it from this person. Every interaction you have it as this version of you. And here is what will happen. At first it will feel strange. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Old thoughts will come. Old reactions will arise. But each time they do, you simply return to the state. You remind yourself, I am a wealthy person. This is who I am today. And you feel yourself to be that again. Do this for one full day. Not perfectly. You will slip dozens of times, but each time you slip, you return. Gently, without judgment. You just return to being the person, and something remarkable will happen. By the end of that day, the state will feel more natural. The being of it will feel more real. You will have moments where you forget you are practicing, and you simply are this person. This is saturation. You are saturating your consciousness with the new state. And the more you saturate, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more automatically you create from it. Do this for one day, then do it again the next day. Then again and again, until being this person feels more natural than being the old person. Until you are no longer returning to the state because you never left it. This is how you master the feeling. Not through intense visualization sessions. Not through emotional manipulation, but through gentle, consistent saturation in the state of being what you desire to be. Let me bring everything together now. With the ultimate truth about feeling, the truth that, when fully understood, makes manifestation effortless. You are not trying to feel your desires fulfilled. You are feeling yourself to be the person whose desires fulfilled. These sound similar, but they are completely different. One is about the desire, the other is about you. One is external, the other is internal. One is temporary, the other is foundational. Your desire is just a reflection of who you feel yourself to be. Wealthy people have wealth, not because they are lucky, but because they feel themselves to be wealthy people. Loved people experience love, not because they found the right person, but because they feel themselves to be lovable. Successful people achieve success, not because they worked harder, but because they feel themselves to be successful. So stop focusing on the desire. Start focusing on who you are being. Stop trying to feel like you have it. Start being the person who has it. And the having will follow automatically, inevitably, because the outer world must reflect the inner being. Tonight you have one assignment. Before you sleep, I want you to answer this question with brutal honesty. Who do I feel myself to be? Not who do you hope to be. Not who do you try to be. Who do you actually genuinely deeply feel yourself to be when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not performing or pretending? Write it down. Look at it. This is what you are creating. This is what your world is reflecting. Then ask yourself, who do I want to feel myself to be? Not what do I want to have. Who do I want to be? What kind of person has the life I desire? What is their sense of self? What is their foundational feeling? And then, starting tomorrow, you are going to practice being this person. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consciously, deliberately, persistently. You are going to shift your awareness to this version of you, and you are going to practice being them until being them feels more natural than being who you were. This is the work. This is the practice. This is mastering the feeling. The feeling is not emotion. The feeling is not excitement. The feeling is not trying. The feeling is being. You master the feeling by learning to be the person who has your desire, instead of trying to feel emotions about your desire. You master the feeling by saturating yourself in the state until it becomes natural. You master the feeling by changing your inner conversation until it matches the identity you wish to embody. You master the feeling by making it so natural that you forget you once did not have what you now have. Do this, and everything you desire must manifest. Not because you hoped hard enough, not because you visualized perfectly, but because you became the person to whom these things naturally belong. You are not waiting to have. You are learning to be. And being always precedes having. Master the feeling, and you master your reality. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I'm going to teach you something that may shock you. Something that will completely transform your relationship with your own mind. I'm going to teach you how to trick your subconscious mind. That faithful servant that controls 95% of your thoughts, behaviors, and experiences into creating the life you desire. Now, when I say trick, I don't mean deceive in any dishonest way. I mean to understand the language your subconscious speaks and communicate with it in ways that bypass the critical, doubting, limiting conscious mind. I mean to learn the secret codes, the hidden doorways, the master keys that give you direct access to the most powerful creative force in your being. Your subconscious mind is like the most faithful servant you could ever have. But here's the secret that most people never discover. It cannot tell the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is physically real. It accepts as fact whatever you consistently impress upon it with feeling and conviction. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is the literal mechanism through which every experience in your life is created. And tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this mechanism deliberately, consciously, and powerfully. Let me begin with a story that will illustrate the power of what I'm teaching you tonight. Just last month, A woman came to my lecture who had been suffering from severe insomnia for over 5 years. She said, "Neville, I've tried everything: medication, therapy, meditation. Nothing works. Every night I lie in bed for hours, my mind racing, unable to sleep. I've come to accept that I'm just not a good sleeper." I looked at this exhausted woman and immediately recognized what was happening. I said, "My dear, you've been programming your subconscious mind to keep you awake. Every time you say, 'I'm not a good sleeper,' every time you worry about not sleeping, every time you lie in bed expecting to struggle, you're giving your subconscious mind clear instructions to prevent sleep." "But these are just facts about my situation," she protested. "I'm just being realistic." "No," I replied. "You're being creative. Your subconscious mind doesn't know facts from fiction. It only knows what you consistently impress upon it. Right now, you've impressed upon it that you are a person who cannot sleep. And like the faithful servant it is, it's working tirelessly to confirm this identity." I taught this woman a simple trick that night. Instead of trying to force herself to sleep, instead of fighting with her mind, instead of accepting insomnia as her reality, I taught her to trick her subconscious mind into believing she had already slept wonderfully. Every evening, before getting into bed, she would sit quietly and remember sleeping perfectly. Not imagine it as a future possibility, but remember it as though it had already happened. She would recall the feeling of deep, restful sleep. She would remember waking up refreshed and energized. She would impress upon her subconscious mind the memory of being an excellent sleeper. Within 1 week, she was sleeping better than she had in years. Within a month, her insomnia was completely gone. She had tricked her subconscious mind out of the insomnia pattern by giving it new memories, new impressions, new facts to work with. You see, your conscious mind is the gatekeeper between your desires and your subconscious mind. And unfortunately for most people, this gatekeeper is highly critical, deeply skeptical, and constantly resistant to change. When you try to tell yourself, "I am wealthy," while your bank account shows lack, your conscious mind immediately objects. "That's not true," it says. "You're lying to yourself. Be realistic. Look at the facts." And this objection prevents the new assumption from reaching your subconscious mind, where the real creative work happens. This is why simple affirmations often fail. You're trying to get past the gatekeeper through the front door, but the gatekeeper knows all the locks and refuses to let you through. So you must learn to use the secret passages, the hidden entrances that bypass the conscious mind's resistance entirely. Think of your subconscious mind as a garden, and your conscious mind as a fence around that garden. If you try to throw seeds over the fence during the day when the conscious mind is alert and watchful, it will intercept them and throw them back at you. "These won't grow here," it says. "The soil isn't right. The conditions aren't perfect. Be realistic." But at night, when the conscious mind is drowsy and less vigilant, when the gatekeeper is distracted or sleeping, you can slip seeds directly into the garden. And once they're planted in the subconscious soil, they must grow. They have no choice. The subconscious mind doesn't judge or question, it simply accepts and creates. The first and most powerful trick for accessing your subconscious mind is to use what I call the state akin to sleep. That drowsy twilight state between waking and sleeping, where your conscious mind relaxes its guard, and your subconscious becomes highly receptive to suggestion. This state occurs naturally twice every day, as you're falling asleep at night, and as you're waking up in the morning. In these moments, the critical factor of your conscious mind is diminished, and you have direct access to the creative workshop of your subconscious. This is why I always tell people, use the moments before sleep as your most sacred creative time. This is when you plant the seeds of tomorrow's experiences. This is when you trick your subconscious mind into accepting new assumptions about yourself and your world. Let me tell you about a gentleman who mastered this technique. He was a salesman who had been struggling for years, barely making enough to support his family. He came to me desperate for a solution, convinced that he simply wasn't good at sales. I taught him this trick. Every night as he drifted off to sleep, he was to imagine himself as the top salesman in his company. Not to visualize it happening someday, but to feel it as already accomplished. I told him to feel the satisfaction of closing major sales, to imagine his manager congratulating him, to experience the security of having more than enough money. But won't my mind reject this because it's not true? He asked. Not in the drowsy state, I replied. In that twilight moment before sleep, your conscious mind's defenses are down. Your subconscious is open and receptive. It's like the gatekeeper has stepped away from his post. This is your opportunity to plant new seeds directly in the garden of your subconscious mind. He practiced this faithfully every night for 3 months, and something remarkable began to happen. His approach to sales changed without him consciously trying to change it. He became more confident, more natural, more persuasive. Opportunities appeared that he had never noticed before. Within 6 months, he had become the top salesman in his company. He had tricked his subconscious mind into accepting a new identity by slipping it past the conscious mind's resistance during the drowsy state. The second trick is imagining from instead of imagining of. Most people, when they try to manifest something, make a critical error. They imagine themselves achieving their desire from a distance, like watching a movie of themselves succeeding. They see themselves getting the job, finding the love, receiving the money, but they're watching it happen to someone who looks like them rather than experiencing it as themselves. This is imagining of rather than imagining from. And your subconscious mind is not tricked by this because it knows you're still identifying as the observer rather than the experiencer. The trick is to imagine from your desire rather than of your desire. Don't watch yourself succeeding. Be yourself succeeding. Don't see yourself happy. Feel yourself happy. Don't observe yourself wealthy. Experience yourself wealthy from the inside out. Let me illustrate with a powerful example. A young woman came to me who desperately wanted to marry a specific man. She had been visualizing their wedding for months, seeing herself in a wedding dress, watching them exchange vows, imagining the ceremony. But nothing was moving in that direction in her actual life. I said to her, "You're imagining of your wedding rather than from your wedding. You're watching it like a spectator, rather than experiencing it as the bride. Your subconscious mind knows the difference, and it's not being tricked." I taught her to imagine from the end instead. Tonight, don't visualize your wedding. I told her, feel what it's like to be married to him. Wear an imaginary ring and feel its weight on your finger. Feel him beside you in bed. Have imaginary conversations as his wife. Experience the reality of being married from the first-person perspective. This shift changed everything. Within weeks, their relationship began to deepen. Within months, he proposed. She had finally tricked her subconscious mind by stepping into the experience rather than watching it from outside. The subconscious mind can only create experiences you claim as your own. When you imagine from your desire, you're claiming it as your reality. When you imagine of your desire, you're admitting it's separate from you. Here's a trick that most people find absolutely revolutionary when they discover it. You can trick your subconscious mind by revising the past. Your subconscious mind stores memories, and these memories form the foundation of your self-concept and your expectations about life. But here's the secret. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a memory of something that actually happened and a memory of something you vividly imagined happening. This means you can literally revise your memories, and in doing so, change the pattern of your future experiences. Let me share an extraordinary example. A businessman came to me who had given a disastrous presentation at work. He had frozen, stumbled over his words, and essentially ruined an important opportunity for his company. He was convinced this failure would define his career, and that he would never be trusted with important presentations again. "The past is the past," he said miserably. "I can't change what happened." "Can't you?" I replied. "Your subconscious mind is creating your future based on patterns established by your past. If the memory of this failed presentation remains in your subconscious as a dominant pattern, it will continue to create similar experiences. But if you revise this memory, you change the pattern." I taught him to replay the presentation in his imagination every night before sleep, but this time to imagine it going perfectly, to feel himself speaking confidently and clearly, to experience the satisfaction of delivering an excellent presentation, to hear the applause and receive the congratulations. But this isn't what happened, he protested. Your subconscious mind doesn't care what happened in the external world, I explained. It only cares what you consistently impress upon it. If you consistently impress upon it the memory of a successful presentation, it will create future presentations that match this revised memory rather than the original failure. He practiced this revision faithfully for 2 weeks. And then something remarkable happened. He was asked to give another presentation. This time, without any conscious effort, he delivered it confidently and successfully. His subconscious mind had accepted the revised memory as fact and created a new experience to match it. This is one of the most powerful tricks for your subconscious mind. You can change your future by changing your past. Not the external past, but the internal memory that your subconscious uses as a template for creating experiences. The fourth trick is the secret of feeling. Your subconscious mind speaks the language of feeling, not words. This is perhaps the most important trick of all. You must learn to impress your subconscious mind with feeling rather than with thoughts alone. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if there's no feeling behind them, they're just empty words bouncing off the surface of your conscious mind. But when you generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you bypass the conscious mind entirely and speak directly to the subconscious. Think of your subconscious mind as a child who doesn't understand complex words but responds powerfully to emotion. If you try to convince a child of something through logical argument, you'll likely fail. But if you express something with genuine feeling, the child accepts it immediately and completely. Let me tell you about a woman who discovered this principle in the most practical way. She had been trying to manifest a new home for over a year. She made vision boards, repeated affirmations, visualized her dream house, but nothing was changing in her circumstances. I asked her, "When you do these practices, what do you feel?" She thought about it and said honestly, "I feel frustrated that I don't have it yet. I feel anxious about whether it will ever happen. I feel doubt creeping in." "There's your problem," I said. "You're impressing your subconscious mind with feelings of frustration, anxiety, and doubt. And like the faithful servant it is, your subconscious is creating more experiences that generate these same feelings." I taught her to generate the feeling of already living in her dream home. Not the feeling of wanting it or hoping for it or waiting for it, the feeling of having it. Every evening she would sit quietly and generate the feeling of satisfaction, security, and joy that came from living in her perfect home. At first this was difficult, because her conscious mind kept reminding her that she didn't actually have the home. But I told her your conscious mind will always remind you of current facts, but your subconscious mind only cares about what you consistently feel. If you feel wealthy, it creates wealth. If you feel loved, it creates love. If you feel satisfied, it creates satisfaction. She practiced generating this feeling daily, and within 4 months, a series of unexpected events led to her moving into a home that exceeded even her original vision. She had tricked her subconscious mind by speaking its native language, the language of feeling. Now, here's a trick that combines all the others. Assume your wish is already fulfilled, and maintain that assumption until it hardens into fact. Your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your assumptions about yourself and your world, and it works tirelessly to create experiences that confirm these assumptions. If you assume you're unlucky, it will find evidence of bad luck. If you assume you're blessed, it will find evidence of blessings. The trick is to consciously plant a new assumption in your subconscious mind, and then persist in that assumption regardless of what your senses report or what your circumstances suggest. A man came to me who was drowning in debt. He owed over $200,000 and saw no way out. "I assume I'll be in debt forever," he said. "That's just my reality." "And as long as you assume that," I replied, "your subconscious mind will ensure it remains your reality." "But what if you assumed something different? What if you assumed you were debt-free and financially secure?" "How can I assume something that contradicts all evidence?" he asked. "By understanding that your assumptions create your evidence, not the other way around," I explained. Your current debt is evidence of your past assumptions about money and yourself. If you change your assumptions, you change the evidence your subconscious mind creates. I taught him to live in the assumption of being debt-free. Every time he thought about money, he would assume abundant supply. Every time he paid a bill, he would assume he had more than enough. Every time he checked his bank balance, he would assume financial security, regardless of what the numbers showed. This felt unnatural at first, almost dishonest. But I explained that he wasn't denying his current circumstances. He was simply choosing which assumption his subconscious mind would work from. Would it work from the assumption of eternal debt, creating more debt? Or would it work from the assumption of financial freedom, creating paths to freedom? Within 18 months, through a series of opportunities and solutions he could never have consciously planned, he was completely debt-free with money and savings. His subconscious mind had been tricked into creating financial freedom by the persistent assumption that freedom was already his. The next trick is this. Act as if. Your subconscious mind takes its cues not just from what you think and feel, but from how you behave. When you act as if your desire is already fulfilled, you send powerful signals to your subconscious that bypass conscious resistance. This doesn't mean pretending in a way that's delusional or irresponsible. It means adopting the natural behaviors, attitudes, and responses of someone who already has what you desire. A woman came to me who desperately wanted to find love, but had been single for many years. I tried everything, she said. Social events, asking friends to set me up. Nothing works. I observed her for a few minutes and then said, "You carry yourself like someone who is lonely and seeking. Your energy is reaching outward, grasping, needing. This is the energy of lack, and it repels what you desire." "But I am lonely," she said. "How can I pretend I'm not?" "I'm not asking you to pretend," I replied. "I'm asking you to act as if you are already deeply loved. How would you carry yourself if you were in a loving relationship? How would you speak? How would you move through the world?" I taught her to act as if she were already loved, to dress for herself as someone who felt cherished, to speak to herself with kindness as someone who was valued, to move through her days with the quiet confidence of someone who knew they were beloved. This wasn't pretending. This was tricking her subconscious mind into accepting a new identity. And when her subconscious accepted this identity of being a loved woman, it began to create circumstances that matched this identity. Within months, she met a man who was drawn to her confidence and self-assurance. Their relationship developed naturally because she was no longer radiating the desperate energy of lack. She had tricked her subconscious mind by acting as if her desire was already fulfilled, and her subconscious had made it so. Now the master trick is persistent assumption. All of these tricks are powerful, but they all depend on one master principle, persistence. Your subconscious mind is impressed not by occasional thoughts or fleeting feelings, but by persistent assumptions and consistent impressions. Think of your subconscious mind as a piece of clay. A single touch leaves barely a mark, but repeated pressure in the same spot creates a lasting impression. Your job is to persistently impress upon your subconscious mind the reality you wish to experience until that impression becomes permanent. Most people fail at manifestation, not because the principles don't work, but because they give up too soon. They try to trick their subconscious mind for a day, a week, maybe a month. But when they don't see immediate results, they abandon the new assumption and return to their old patterns of thought. But the subconscious mind is like a garden. Seeds planted today don't become visible plants tomorrow. There's an invisible period of growth happening beneath the surface. If you dig up the seeds every few days to check if they're growing, you'll prevent them from ever becoming plants. A young man came to me who wanted to become a successful writer. He had been working on his craft for years, but had received nothing but rejections. "Maybe I'm just not good enough," he said. "You've been impressing your subconscious mind with the assumption that you're not good enough," I replied. "Every rejection you've accepted as evidence of your inadequacy has deepened that impression. You must now persistently impress upon your subconscious a new assumption that you are a successful published writer." So I taught him to maintain this assumption consistently. regardless of continued rejections. Every morning he would assume the feeling of being a successful writer. Every evening he would remember his success as though it had already happened. Every time he wrote, he would write from the consciousness of someone whose work was valued and sought after. For 8 months, nothing changed in his external circumstances. He still received rejections. His conscious mind repeatedly suggested he was delusional, but he persisted in his assumption. Then suddenly, everything shifted. An editor who had previously rejected him reached out with interest in a different piece. That led to a publishing deal. Within a year, his book was successful, and he was receiving offers for more work. The trick had worked because he had persisted. His subconscious mind, after months of consistent impression, had finally accepted his new assumption as fact and created circumstances to match it. Let me leave you with this final understanding. You're not really tricking your subconscious mind in any deceptive sense. You're simply learning to communicate with it in its own language, bypassing the interference of the critical conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy. It's your faithful servant, working every moment to create experiences that match your dominant assumptions and feelings. The problem is that most people have programmed this servant with limiting beliefs, fearful expectations, and negative self-concepts. When you learn to trick your subconscious mind, what you're really doing is deprogramming the old limitations and programming new possibilities. You're teaching this faithful servant to work for your desires rather than against them. So remember these tricks. Use the drowsy state to plant new impressions when conscious resistance is low. Imagine from your desire rather than of your desire to claim it as your reality. Revise past failures in imagination to change the patterns creating your future. Generate the feeling of the wish fulfilled to speak the subconscious mind's native language. Maintain the assumption of your desire being fulfilled regardless of current evidence. Act as if your desire is already fulfilled to send behavioral signals to your subconscious. And persist in these practices until your new assumptions harden into fact. Your subconscious mind is the most powerful creative force in your life. It's been creating your experiences faithfully, according to your assumptions, both conscious and unconscious. Now you have the knowledge to direct it consciously, deliberately, and powerfully. You don't need to convince your conscious mind that these techniques will work. Your conscious mind will doubt, question, and resist. But your subconscious mind will respond faithfully to whatever you persistently impress upon it with feeling and conviction. So tonight, as you drift off to sleep, use that precious drowsy state to plant the seeds of your desires. Imagine from the end of your wish fulfilled. Generate the feeling of having what you desire. Assume it is already yours. And then persist in this assumption, day after day, night after night, until your faithful subconscious servant has no choice but to create in your outer world what you have consistently impressed upon your inner world. Your subconscious mind is waiting to be directed. It's ready to serve your highest good. You now know the tricks to communicate with it effectively. Use them well, use them faithfully, and watch as your entire life transforms to match the new impressions you've planted in the fertile garden of your subconscious mind. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and you are the operant power in your world. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to clarify one of the most misunderstood distinctions in all of my teachings. Tonight you will learn the difference between living in the end and living from the end, and why understanding this difference is the key that unlocks effortless manifestation. Most people who fail at manifestation fail for one simple reason. They are living neither in the end nor from the end. They are living in the middle, perpetually reaching toward their desire without ever claiming it. Tonight that changes. Tonight you will learn how to occupy the end completely. You will learn how to be the person who has their desire, not the person trying to get their desire. Let me start by explaining what these terms actually mean, because most people confuse them. Living in the end is internal. It is your state of consciousness. It is who you are being on the inside, in your mind, in your imagination, in the quiet place where only you and God exist. Living from the end is external. It is how that internal state expresses itself through your thoughts, words, actions, and decisions throughout your day. Think of it this way. Living in the end is the seed planted in consciousness. Living from the end is the tree that grows from that seed. You cannot have one without the other. If you live in the end but never live from the end, your assumption remains disconnected from your daily life. If you try to live from the end without first living in the end, you are merely pretending, acting a role without the consciousness to support it. Both are necessary. Both are essential. And tonight, I will teach you how to master both. Before we go further, we must be absolutely clear about what the end means, because most people misunderstand this completely. The end is not the physical manifestation appearing, or getting the thing you desire, or the moment it shows up in your bank account, or the day they call you back, or when your circumstances change. These are all effects. These are manifestations. These are shadows. The end is the state of consciousness of already having your desire, the inner knowing that it is yours, the assumption that it is done, the identity of being the person who possesses it. The end is a state, not an event. When I say live in the end, I am not telling you to imagine the future moment when your desire arrives. I am telling you to occupy the state of consciousness of already possessing it right now. This is why so many people struggle. They visualize getting their desire, the moment of receiving it, the excitement of achieving it, the process of obtaining it. But this is not the end. This is the bridge. This is the journey. The end is after you have had it for so long that it is normal, natural, and completely taken for granted. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most people imagine checking their bank account and seeing money, receiving a promotion, getting a windfall. The moment they become rich. This is not the end. This is still in the middle. This is the process of becoming wealthy. The true end is 6 months after you became wealthy. You no longer think about money. You no longer check your account obsessively. You no longer feel excited about wealth. Why? Because you are wealthy. It is done. It is normal. It is who you are. Can you feel the difference? One is the journey to wealth. The other is the state of wealth. Always go to the state, never to the journey. Now let me teach you how to live in the end. How to occupy this state of consciousness completely. Living in the end means that in your consciousness, in your inner world, in the quiet place where only God sees, you have already received your desire. It is done. It is yours. It is fact. This is not hope. This is not belief. This is not positive thinking. This is assumption. It is accepting something as true now, regardless of current circumstances. When you truly live in the end, several things happen. First, your inner conversations change. Listen carefully to how you talk to yourself about your desire. Do you say, I hope this works out? When will this happen? I'm trying to manifest this. Maybe if I do enough techniques. These are the inner conversations of someone not living in the end. These are the thoughts of someone still reaching, still seeking, still in the middle. When you live in the end, your inner conversations sound like it is done. This is mine. I have this. Thank God this is already accomplished. You are not hoping for it. You are grateful for it, as though it already exists. Because in consciousness it does. Second, you stop seeking confirmation. When you live in the end, you do not need proof. You do not obsessively look at your bank account, hoping to see change. Why? Because you already know. The person who has their desire does not need to confirm they have it. They simply have it. If I asked you right now, do you have hands? You would not need to check. You would not need proof. You would not need to look down and confirm. You simply know you have hands. This is the quality of knowing you must have about your desire when you live in the end. It is settled. It is certain. It is done. Third, current circumstances become irrelevant. When you live in the end, when someone points to your empty bank account and says, "But you're not rich," it does not disturb you. When they point to your relationship status and say, "But you're alone," it does not shake you. When they point to any current circumstance that contradicts your assumption, it rolls off you like water off a duck's back. Why? Because you understand that current circumstances are showing you the old state, the reflection of where your consciousness was. You are no longer there. You have moved to a new state. The mirror has not caught up yet, but you are not fooled by the old reflection. Think of it this way. If you smile at a mirror, but the mirror takes 5 seconds to show your smile, would you stop smiling just because the mirror still shows your frown? No. You would know the mirror is simply delayed. You would wait patiently, holding your smile, knowing the reflection must eventually match. This is how you relate to circumstances when you live in the end. They are the delayed mirror. You are not fooled by them. Fourth, you experience naturalness. This is perhaps the most important sign. When you truly live in the end, your desire feels natural. Not exciting, not impossible, not too good to be true. Natural, normal, ordinary. How do you feel about things you already have? Your name, your home, your own body. Do you feel excited about them every day? Do you think about them constantly? Do you affirm that they are yours? No, they are simply yours. They are so naturally yours that you take them for granted. This is the feeling you cultivate for your desire when you live in the end. It is so naturally yours, so completely assumed, that it would seem strange if it were otherwise. When you catch yourself getting excited about your desire, when you catch yourself hoping for it or yearning for it, this is a sign you have fallen out of the end. Excitement means it is still special, still separate from you, still something you are getting rather than something you have. Return to naturalness. Return to the simple knowing that it is yours. Now, once you have established this internal state, once you are truly living in the end in consciousness, that state must express itself in your daily life. This is living from the end. Living from the end means that your decisions, your words, your thoughts, your actions all flow naturally from the state you occupy in consciousness. You are not pretending. You are not forcing. You are not acting as if. You are simply being yourself. And yourself is now the person who has their desire. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Your thoughts naturally conform to the end. When you live from the end, you do not have to consciously monitor every thought. Your natural thought patterns automatically reflect your assumption. If you have assumed you are wealthy, and you are living from that state, you naturally think thoughts like, "I can afford that, money flows easily to me. I'm so grateful for my abundance." You do not think these thoughts because you are forcing yourself to, you think them because that is who you are. The wealthy version of you naturally thinks wealthy thoughts. If you have assumed you are loved, and you are living from that state, you naturally think thoughts like, "I am desired. I am cherished. My partner adores me." Again, not forced, not manufactured. Natural because you are loved in consciousness, so you naturally think from that state. The next thing is that your decisions automatically align with the end. This is powerful. When you live from the end, you make decisions the way the person who has their desire would make decisions. A woman wants to manifest a loving relationship. She is living in the end. In her consciousness, she is already in a committed, loving partnership. Now, throughout her day, opportunities arise. A friend invites her to a singles event. She declines naturally, effortlessly, because she is not single. She is already in a relationship in consciousness. The person in a relationship does not go to singles events seeking a partner. Is she forcing herself to decline? Is she pretending? No, she is simply making the decision that naturally flows from her state. Or suppose a man has assumed he is successful in his career. He is living from that state. When someone asks him about his work, He does not complain. He does not speak about his job with resentment or frustration. He speaks about it the way a successful person would, with confidence, with pride, with the natural self-assurance of someone who knows their value. He is not acting. He is that person. Here is something profound. When you truly live from the end, right action flows naturally. You do not have to figure out what to do. You do not have to force yourself to take steps. You simply move through your day as the person you are in consciousness, and the right actions unfold naturally. A man assumes he is healthy. He lives from that state. Does he have to force himself to make healthy choices? Does he have to use willpower to exercise or eat well? No, the healthy person naturally chooses healthy foods, naturally enjoys movement, naturally takes care of their body. Not because they are trying to become healthy, but because they are healthy. This is the effortlessness I speak of. When you live from the end, manifestation is not work. It is not struggle. It is simply the natural unfolding of who you are. Now let me show you where most people go wrong, because understanding these mistakes will help you avoid them. Mistake number 1, trying to live from the end without living in the end. Many people try to act wealthy, speak confidently, make decisions from abundance, but underneath in their consciousness they still feel poor. This is exhausting. This is pretending. This is fake it till you make it, and it does not work. You cannot live from a state you are not in. First, establish the internal state. Occupy the consciousness of having your desire. Live in the end, then and only then will living from the end become natural and effortless. Mistake number 2. Living in the end only during practice. Some people do their techniques at night. For 20 minutes they live in the end. They feel wealthy, loved, successful. But then they wake up in the morning and immediately return to the old state. Throughout their day they think from lack. They speak from limitation. They make decisions from their current circumstances. This is not living in the end. This is visiting the end briefly and then leaving. Living in the end must become your dwelling state. Not something you do for 20 minutes. Not something you practice during meditation. Your permanent state of consciousness. Mistake number 3. Confusing excitement with the end. Many people think they are living in the end because they feel excited about their desire. I'm so excited to be wealthy. I can't wait to be in this relationship. This is going to be amazing. But excitement means it is still coming. It is still in the future. It is still something you are moving toward rather than something you possess. The person who has their desire is not excited about it. They are satisfied with it. It is normal to them. When you catch yourself getting excited, you have fallen out of the end. Return to naturalness. Return to the calm knowing that it is already yours. Mistake number 4. Checking the 3D for proof. This is perhaps the most common mistake. People live in the end in consciousness for a while, but then they check their physical reality to see if it is working. Let me check my bank account. Has the money shown up yet? No? Maybe I'm not doing it right. Every time you check for proof, you are affirming that you do not have your desire. You only check for things you do not have. You do not check whether you have hands. You know you have them. When you live in the end, you know you have your desire in consciousness. The physical manifestation is simply the shadow catching up. You do not need to check for shadows to confirm what you already know in the light. Mistake number 5. Giving power to the bridge. Sometimes people assume they desire correctly, but then they see circumstances that contradict it. Maybe they assume they are wealthy, but then they receive a bill. Maybe they assume they are in a relationship, but then they see their crush with someone else. If they react to these circumstances with fear, doubt, or despair, they have given power to the bridge. They have allowed the middle, the journey between assumption and manifestation, to shake them out of the end. Remember, the bridge of incidents builds itself. Sometimes the bridge looks chaotic. Sometimes it looks like things are going wrong. But if you remain faithful to your assumption, if you stay in the end and continue living from the end, the bridge will deliver you to your manifestation. Do not judge the bridge. Do not analyze the bridge. Simply remain in the end. Now let me give you the practical process. The exact steps to enter the state of living in the end and then live from that state all day long. Step 1. Identify the true end. What is the end of your desire? Not the journey, not the process. The end. Ask yourself, if I had this desire, who would I be? What state of consciousness would I occupy? Not what would I have, but who would I be? For wealth, not I would have money, but I would be a wealthy person. For love, not I would have a partner, but I would be loved, desired, cherished. For health, not I would have a healthy body, but I would be healthy, vital, whole. The end is always a state of being, never a state of having. Step 2. Assume the state now. Do not wait. Do not prepare. Do not build up to it. Now in this moment, assume you are that person. Not I will become wealthy. Not I am becoming wealthy. But I am wealthy. Not in the future. Now, in consciousness, in imagination, in the only place that matters, your inner world. Simply accept it. Claim it, occupy it. You are now the person who has their desire. It is done. Step 3. Feel the naturalness of it. Once you have assumed the state, sink into the feeling of it. Not excitement, not euphoria, but the natural, calm, simple feeling of having. How would you feel if you had possessed this for months? It would be normal, natural, taken for granted. Find that feeling. That is the feeling of living in the end. Step 4. Make your first decision from the end. Now that you are in the state in consciousness, make one decision from that state. Ask yourself, what would the wealthy version of me choose right now? What would the loved version of me think right now? What would the healthy version of me do right now? Then choose that, think that, do that. Not because you are pretending, but because you are that person in consciousness, and you are simply being yourself. Step 5. Monitor your thoughts throughout the day. As you go through your day, observe your thoughts. Are you thinking from the end or toward the end? Toward the end, I hope this works. When will it come? I need to manifest this. From the end. It is done, this is mine. I am so grateful for this. Every time you catch yourself thinking toward the end, stop, reset. Return to thinking from the end. This becomes easier with practice. Eventually, thinking from the end becomes your default. Step 6. Ignore contrary evidence. When you see circumstances that contradict your assumption, and you will see them, because the mirror always lags, do not react to them, do not let them shake you. Simply recognize this is the old reflection. This is the shadow of where I was. I am no longer there. I am in a new state, and the shadow will catch up. Then return to your assumption. Return to living in the end. Step 7. Fall asleep in the end every night. This is crucial. The state you fall asleep in impresses the subconscious most deeply. Every night before you drift off to sleep, return to the state of the wish fulfilled. Feel yourself to be the person who has their desire. Let that be the last conscious thought before sleep takes you. Your subconscious works all night from that assumption, building the bridge, arranging circumstances, creating your new reality. Step 8. Wake up in the end every morning. The moment you wake, before you get out of bed, before you check the news, before you think about your day, return to the state. Assume your desire is fulfilled. Feel it, know it, be it. This sets the tone for your entire day. You begin in the end, and you live from that end throughout the day. Let me tell you about a man who truly understood this principle. He desired to own a home, a specific home in a specific location. But his finances were not where they needed to be. His circumstances said it was impossible. Most people in this situation would have visualized getting the home. They would have imagined the day they signed the papers, the excitement of moving in, the joy of ownership. But this man understood. He did not visualize getting the home. He assumed he already owned it. Every night he fell asleep imagining himself in the home, not moving into it, not buying it, but living in it as though he had owned it for 6 months. He imagined sitting in his favorite chair, looking out his favorite window, feeling the deep satisfaction of being home. This was living in the end. And during his days he lived from that state. When friends asked where he lived, he described the neighborhood, not with longing, but with the familiarity of someone who lived there. When he made decisions about furniture or decor, he thought about what would fit in his home, not someday, but now. Was he lying? Was he pretending? No. In consciousness, in the only reality that matters, he did live there. He occupied that state completely. And here is what happened. Within 3 months, a series of seemingly unrelated events unfolded. An unexpected financial opportunity arose. The home he desired came on the market at the exact moment he had the means to purchase it. Circumstances that had seemed impossible suddenly became inevitable. The bridge built itself perfectly, naturally, effortlessly, because he remained faithful to his assumption. He lived in the end, and he lived from the end, and the physical world had no choice but to conform. Let me share with you the ultimate secret of living in and from the end. When you truly occupy this state, when you genuinely live in the end in consciousness and naturally live from the end in your daily life, something remarkable happens. You stop caring when it manifests. Not because you have given up, not because you do not want it, but because you already have it in the only place that matters, consciousness. And when you have it in consciousness, when you are living as the person who possesses it, when every thought and word and decision flows naturally from that state, you are content, you are satisfied, you are complete. The physical manifestation becomes a bonus, a pleasant confirmation, a shadow finally catching up to the substance. But you no longer need it to feel fulfilled, because you are already fulfilled in consciousness. This is the paradox. The moment you stop needing the manifestation is the moment it rushes toward you. Why? Because you have finally, completely, totally occupied the state. You are living in the end. You are living from the end. There is no gap, no lack, no reaching. You are the person who has their desire, and the universe must reflect that. Tonight before you sleep, you are going to live in the end. Choose your desire. Identify the true end, not the journey, but the state of consciousness of already having it. Now assume that state, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now you are that person. It is done. You have your desire. Feel the naturalness of it, the calm knowing, the simple acceptance. This is living in the end. Tomorrow when you wake, return immediately to that state, and throughout your day live from it. Think from it. Speak from it. Choose from it. When you catch yourself falling out of the state, and you will especially at first simply reset. No judgment, no frustration, just return to the end. Do this consistently. Morning and evening establish yourself in the end. Throughout the day live from the end. And watch as your consciousness, which is the only reality, impresses itself upon the physical world. Watch as circumstances shift. Watch as the bridge builds itself. Watch as the shadow finally catches up to the light. Here is the final truth. Living in the end is the state. Living from the end is the expression of that state. Master both, and manifestation becomes effortless. Not because you are trying less, but because you are more. You are not the person seeking their desire. You are the person who has their desire. And when you truly become that person, when you occupy that state completely, when you live from it naturally, the physical world must conform. This is law. This is truth. This is how consciousness creates reality. Live in the end. Live from the end. And watch your world transform to match the person you have become. Thank you. And good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.